My name is James Starbuck and I've been teaching for over 10 years. I initially trained as a primary teacher, starting with a class in Year 1. For some children, the transition between key stages has always been difficult, and myself and other staff noticed a continued pattern. Year on year, some children always struggled to adjust to the pace, layout and style of a teacher-led learning environment. In my attempts to make this a smoother and more comfortable experience for children beginning school, I started to develop an interest in the learning journeys and experiences of the children prior to reaching my class. Little did I know at the time that this was the start of my own learning journey, where ultimately my perception of play, teaching and learning would evolve and change. During my first few observations in the rooms with tiny chairs and tables, my knowledge of the early years foundation stage was very limited. I knew within what looked like an organised chaos of children gluing, painting, dressing up, building dens, the children were learning, adults circled, giving out praise, supporting and extending challenges for children. Some children would invite me to their play, show me their picture, or confidently ask, "Who are you? What are you doing here? What's your favourite colour? Do you know my sister?" The outside area, come rain or shine, was full of different range of activities, from digging, fence painting, football and pavement chalking. Through the noise I could feel the excitement, interest and energy of the environment. The joy and excitement of the children was infectious. I later found out that this was called free flow, whereby the children were free to flow between the different games and activities, both indoors and outdoors. As someone new to this approach of teaching, identifying the learning was less than straightforward. I was used to having the children in my class work on the same objective at the same time, with differentiated support and challenge. The children in the early years free flow were moving at their own pace and being taught different skills and subjects at the same time. Identifying exactly what was happening everywhere was much more difficult than a standard literacy or maths lesson. My natural response was to try and find something tangible and familiar that I could track. Behaviour, or reading, writing, spelling or maths. Unbeknownst to me, this was just the tip of the iceberg to what learning was happening, as the subtle approaches by staff through their planning, interactions and environmental design enabled a much deeper learning experience that would require me to have a much more extensive understanding of child development to comprehend. Over the next few years, I moved into the early years foundation stage and taught both nursery and reception, where I began to understand why these approaches were used and why I believe they are the most effective in educating young children. There can be no arguing that there is a juxtaposition between the traditional primary classroom and an early years environment. But where the difficulty seems to be is the view of how we transition between these in the most effective way to support the well-being of the children and maximise the progress of their education. A bottom-up approach would be to continue the play-based learning into Year 1 and possibly increase formal teaching over time where children are ready. This would require Key Stage 1 teachers to have a solid understanding of the EYFS as well as the primary curriculum, and trust and value in the impact that purposeful play-based learning can have. The opposite to this would be a top-down approach where the early years environment is gradually made more school-ready, increasing formal learning times and decreasing free flow leading up to the end of reception or earlier. In my experience, private nurseries and preschools have tended to keep the bottom-up approach, whereas school-based early years departments have been very mixed. So why is there a difference and many disagreements in this area? In my opinion, the pressures that schools have for good exam results often mean that a top-down approach can seem like a good idea. Getting children started earlier on the subjects that contribute to the measurement of a school's success, such as reading, writing and maths, can cause a temptation to introduce longer formal lessons to accelerate learning, and this of course means that something in the timetable needs to give. Playtime. The concern that too much early analysis of young children to fit them into developmental expectations is not new. Since the introduction of the new EYFS, the Early Childhood Action Group which contains members from over 50 major figures and organisations from academia, talked about its key shortcomings. The schoolification of early childhood, with its over-assessment and excessive monitoring, with normalised measurement impeding in particular the progress of boys, summer-born children, and those with English as an additional language and special educational needs. Before I continue, I want to point out that I value reading, writing and maths, but I believe we must also not ignore the broader aspects of a child's development and the prerequisites that are the foundation for this subject. In my opinion, confident school leaders who embrace and support the play-based approaches of the early years ethos instead of formalising the environment will actually see children build a love of learning, have more confidence, imagination and creativity. Play is a crucial time to explore their own feelings and behaviour so they can be more emotionally in tune with their peers. With the time taken to develop their behaviour and self-worth, the outcomes will be a more emotionally mature, resilient, well-rounded citizen that will not only just succeed with the pressures of exams, but the unexpected difficulties and surprises life has to offer. Of course, the value of play-based learning as a vital tool for early development is not a new concept, with many educators, scientists, researchers and psychologists analysing, designing and supporting these pedagogical approaches for hundreds of years. Pioneer Friedrich Froebel, designer of the kindergarten and supporter of women becoming teachers, wrote at length about the importance of play in his essay, The Education of Man. Play, in the most purest spiritual product of man at this stage and at the same time, typical of human life as whole, of the inner, hidden natural life in man and all things. It gives therefore joy, freedom, contentment, inner and outer rest, peace within the world. It holds sources of all that is good. A child that plays thoroughly, with self-active determination, persevering until physical fatigue forbids, will surely be a thorough, determined man, capable of self-sacrifice for the promotion of the welfare of himself and others. This idea that play helps the development of character of a child and should be valued equally alongside academic development really helped me justify my continued use of free flow in my classroom. More modern interpretations of Froebel's theories, such as Tina Bruce's 12 features of play, also highlight play as a learning process. Play allows children to express their own ideas, feelings and relationships and to be comfortable in their own bodies, as well as finding ways to challenge themselves. When I observe free flow with large amounts of children playing, it looks like a mini world, a microcosm of their society where they experience social situations and begin to develop their own character. In my opinion, adults supporting children in the moment of an incident to reflect and learn is far more effective and impactful as it is relevant to the child. A standalone lesson or assembly could never recreate the feelings and attention that children give to a situation that is still raw and relevant to them. These are the key moments that play can provide. Some conversations I have had with children have supported their understanding of prejudice, injustice, racism, compromise and forgiveness, to name but a few. If we take away these experiences too early from children and force activities the children aren't developmentally ready for in the hope of quick progress, we are not only running the risk of killing their love of learning, but they lose out on the time to process, experiment, explore and reflect upon their life experiences. This in turn can lead to children with gaps in their personal, social and emotional development, which I've seen firsthand turn into behavioural problems as they get older. This often impacts upon their progress throughout their later years in school and in turn exam results. Rushing children can be damaging to a child's self-esteem and confidence. Froebel talks about beginning where the learner is, rather than where the practitioner thinks the learner should be. For example, the pressure to rush children into holding pencils and writing letter formations before they have had the opportunity to train and strengthen the muscles in their hands can be detrimental on many levels, because some children may initially produce work below their expected literacy standard due to a physical development gap, not their knowledge of letters or formations. This may be more evident in children who are summer born and the youngest in the class, who have had up to a third less life experience than some of their peers. They need time to build up the muscles in the hand and pivots in the wrist with activities such as rolling balls with Play-Doh or using pincers, attaching Lego, threading, as well as practicing vertical, horizontal, diagonal and anti-clockwise patterns. These kinds of physical activities lend themselves to a play-based environment, and as they're interesting and exciting, the children often will engage with them for longer. In my experience, reducing these activities for the illusion of rapid progress can be detrimental to children. This may lead them to have a reduced confidence and a resentment to writing. All of these emotions children develop are key to success in the classroom. I truly believe we must value the development of them as a unique child in tune with their feelings and emotions on the same level as the exam subjects. Maria Montessori, the revolutionary scientist and visionary who pioneered environments and approaches where children learned through play in the early 20th century, also believed in the wider goals of autonomy, perseverance and concentration, and found that this age was the optimal time to develop their human characteristics. This is now being supported by neuroscientists who support this stage of the absorbent mind. I truly hope to find that the future education of all children is supported by school leaders who understand and value the major developmental opportunities that play has to offer at this crucial time in a child's life. I hope as an awareness of the value of play in schools helps shift that stigma that play is a mindless break from learning. I wholeheartedly agree that we should celebrate children's progress and achievements, but also not let the pressure of exams, gradings and levellings take away the unmeasurable human characteristics that are taught through early education's play-based approach, for these are the true foundations of our society and humanity.